Do you struggle with mean internal voices, with feeling good enough, feeling like you're letting someone down? Hi, I'm Tabi, and this is my channel, Tabi Transforms. Today, we're going to talk about how to make friends with the voice in your head. According to Russell Hurlburt, PhD, only around 30 to 50% of people have an internal monologue or hear an actual voice narrating in their head. So you might not actually have a voice that speaks to you in your head, but you can still be your own worst critic. I find that when I am stressed or anxious, I tend to be really mean to myself. And this can be with words or just emotions that I feel intensely disappointed or frustrated or angry. And I'm directing that at my own self or body. I would like to point out here that I'm not talking about self-harm, and that if you think that's something that you're struggling with or worried about it, I would highly encourage you to talk to a mental health professional. I am not that, and that's not the scope of this video. What we're talking about right now, while the feelings can be really intense, is at a level of, this is an unhealthy thing, but a lot of people think it's normal. I would just like to break down some of the barriers around normalizing being cruel to ourselves, being mean to ourselves, and get to a place where we are kinder. Yeah. So I have ADHD, and I notice that particularly when I'm stressed or anxious, I don't always recognize the internal struggle. I don't always notice how bad my internal monologue is and how much I'm struggling with my current life until I recognize that there's a few things that happen every time and that can kind of cue me in that my internal monologue is not so good. These are things like dropping things, losing things, and running into things. I find that if I notice I have a bunch of bruises or that I'm dropping things more often or running into things more often, that these are good signs that something's going on internally that I need to deal with, and that I'm probably not being very kind to myself while I'm having that struggle. During these times, I find that I direct that energy inward, and that it's quite damaging to my sense of self-worth and my belief in myself, that I'm eroding those things, and that it's sort of a feed-forward situation. It just builds. I'm frustrated and angry, so I'm mean to myself, which makes me more frustrated and angry, which makes me meaner to myself. And it just keeps going on until I break the cycle. So that's what we're going to talk about. How do we stop that cycle? In a previous video, I mentioned the 3 A's: awareness, acceptance, and action. In order to stop feeding energy into this self-destructive cycle, I need to become aware that I'm doing it, find a place of calm, which is a version of acceptance, and then take an opposite action, such as a self-hug, or kind words, even if I don't believe them or feel them at the moment, or putting a smile on my face. That's really just for me. This isn't about making anybody else feel better. Putting a smile on your face can make you feel better. If you're like me, then right about now, you're going, great, but how, Tabi? How do I do that? How do I stop the cycle? How do I actually stop being mean to myself? And I'm glad you asked. You do that by wanting to change. If you're here and you're watching this, then a part of you already wants to change. So you have an awareness already that there's an issue and that there's something you want to do about it. The next step is really finding it in you to be kind to yourself when you realize that you are in the situation, that you've either done something that you didn't want to do or that you're struggling. So when you first become aware that you're doing the thing that you want to change, you need to make a promise to yourself that you will stop, pause, take a deep breath, and direct whatever amount of kindness you have available to yourself at the moment inward and back to yourself. It really helps me to do an exercise with my inner child when I'm struggling to be kind to myself. So we're going to walk through that right now. You start by picturing your inner child. That little person inside of you that you once were. Picture the cutest little version of you. Maybe you're a chubby-cheeked toddler who's barely talking, or an energetic, rambunctious little kid who's full of energy and excitement. Maybe you can't picture yourself, but you do know a little kid that you think is adorable and amazing, or you've seen one on TV or in a video, and you think, that little kid brings up feelings of protectiveness and love from me. That's great, you can use them then. You're going to envision that sweet little innocent version of yourself or someone else and imagine that they did the thing that you just did that you're being mean to yourself about. So this little kid just dropped this glass and broke it. Would I want to have spoken to them the way that I am speaking to myself in my head? It can actually help to spend some time imagining this child's reaction to this thing that you've done. So let's say you dropped a glass and you broke it and there's water all over the floor, and you notice that in your head you're going, you are so dumb. Imagine having said that in the same way to this small person inside of you or outside of you. You can imagine them standing there in front of you and think about what that would be like. Imagine their reaction. Imagine the way that they would respond to you, things that they would feel in response, and see it. Allow yourself to feel it. On the first time I did this, I was floored by how mean I was being. When I imagined saying what I had said to myself to this little kid, imagined yelling at a child, I realized that I was being so harsh and critical, and really for no reason. This little kid hadn't really done anything wrong. And that little kid is actually me. I hadn't really done anything wrong. I made a mistake. And I, that little kid, didn't deserve to be treated the way that I treated myself in that moment. But when you're just thinking about yourself, it can be really hard to recognize that you're doing it. So taking a step back and imagining this from the experience of someone else can be really helpful to get you to recognize what you're doing and to make a change. It can also be helpful if you don't identify with this idea of an inner child to think about somebody that you really love or admire, your grandma or Barack Obama, or your pet having made the similar mistake, and think about how you would speak to them. How would you react to your grandma, who you love and who's amazing and has always taken such good care of you, dropping a glass in the kitchen? Would you yell at her? Or would you be like, oh, let me help you clean that up. No big deal. Let's move on. So now comes the hard part. We practice finding that compassion with someone else or our younger self, and then we direct that newfound compassion back to ourselves. And something miraculous happens. We start to see that we are someone that is worthy of love and care and softness. That maybe, just as our little kid self or our grandma or our pet deserves, we are also deserving of being treated with gentleness, with kindness, with love, to have our mistakes forgiven, to have somebody treat us like we're special and important to them, even though we made a mistake. And that's it. A simple but not easy exercise to start practicing a bit more kindness and love towards our lovely selves. Take some time today and over the next week to practice and sit with your thoughts and feelings. Journal, have coffee with a trusted friend, and share your experiences. I would also love to hear about how this landed for you, so drop me a comment. Let me know that you tried it and how it worked for you. And thanks for being here. I hope that this helps somebody. This has been a really life-changing experience for me, working with my inner child in this way and practicing some self-compassion and some kindness. I really wanted to post this week because I noticed that I was not being very kind to myself. And I think that oftentimes the things that we need to learn, we learn the best by helping others and teaching others. So I'm hoping to spread some love, spread some kindness, spread some joy. And I already feel that in myself. So, thanks. I think that's it for this week. So, I'm Tabi, and I post videos every Friday with tips and tricks to transform your life one day at a time. I hope you have a lovely day, a lovely week, a lovely life. See you next time. Bye.